clock. Touchdown, Razorbacks. James Rouse. Give left side. There he goes. James Rouse tries to turn it in. Touchdown, Arkansas.
Rouse up the middle with a big hole. Cuts upfield. He's gone. See you later. Touchdown, Razorbacks.
Now from the eye, the pitch goes to the far side. That's James Rouse. Texas Tech pursues well to the right. Rouse reverses himself. Can he get around the corner? Yes, he does. He's across the midfield stripe.
Another great play by James Rouse again.
All right, you heard Coach Ken Hatfield at the end. We feel like when we have someone of the status of James Rouse, he needs a proper introduction. Yeah. James, appreciate you hopping on with us this morning. How things going to start August, my man?
Oh, hot. We're going okay. Going okay. Well, can't complain.
James, I'm sure you have many of Coach Hatfield's stories. Quinn Grovey shared many on these airwaves before. What stood out playing for Coach Hatfield here at Arkansas?
Well, he's the players' coach. You know, Coach Hatfield is probably one of the better coaches that ever came through the University of Arkansas, and he cared about us. You know, and we knew that, and so you know, with someone that care about you and give you leeway to be who you are, you know, that's what you want. You just want someone who has your back, and Coach Hatfield definitely had our back.
Well, I know you've got a lot of former teammates and coach that has your back. You're going to be a part of this 2025 Hall of Honor class, your inductions next month. Have we started on the speech yet? Is that something that's still a work in progress? What's that going to look like here in Fayetteville next month?
I haven't thought about it just yet, but I'm sure I'll put some down.
What was
but it is a great honor to be honored, you know. And I do say this, you know, one of the things that I'm grateful for is that I'm here to see it, because I've had a few guys that I've played with who are no longer here in Chicago, and so me and my wife actually were talking about that the other day. That four of my guys that I played with in Chicago are no longer here. So I was like, you know what, it's good to be here. It's good to be honored. Good to be, where my kids can be able to see it as well. Because they never, of course, they just hear about Dad. They never understood, what exactly all that I did. So now they just kind of think of Dad as, old fat Dad, just who can't run anymore and all that. So,
oh man,
so it should be great for them to see as well.
What was it like when you got the call that you were going to be part of this year's class?
Well, I was shocked. Honey, you check called, and I was like, okay, what is he calling me for? So I was actually shocked and honored at the same time. So, but yeah, great. I'm excited.
Yeah. When you watch today's game versus, the run-oriented, very, very little passing game, particularly when you played at Arkansas, and you watch today's modern football, which style would you prefer to play in? A little more wide open, a little more run and shoot, which we saw with Houston kind of in your day as well, or, a little more ground and pound like you were a big part of?
Well, you know what? Probably a little bit wide open. The ground and pound, that's a man's man. That's a man's man game there. Because, they stack the box. And so with this wide open offense, now you got lanes, a lot more lanes to run in, as opposed to them stacking the box, in which they did a lot on us. And of course, we had to read options too. So, if a play wasn't ran for you and you run the read option, then, you could get the ball, you may not get the ball. And a lot of times they took me out of the game sometimes when we ran a read option, by just, having someone keying on me. But other than that, I would probably like the wide open offense. I'll probably like something like that.
Well, James, when it comes to your family, man, if they didn't get to watch you play, you just toss them the highlight reel, a war machine that he put together of you from back in the day. For those family members that don't necessarily believe that you were a stud back then.
Yeah, like say when my kids first found out that their dad was who he is, and they's like, okay, but that's just Dad. Until my son, actually one of his friends was over, and was like, let's pull up your dad. So what actually had to happen is my son was in class, and he put up a Wikipedia page, and he's like, my dad's on Wikipedia. And so he came home and he was all excited. Dad, you on Wikipedia? I was like, oh, really? So that's kind of how the first, he's like, hey, you may be famous. But until he actually saw me, saw some of my runs and saw me play a little bit, saw the game film. He's like, oh, okay, all right. You were a pretty good running back.
Well, if you need someone to speak on your behalf, I mean, you nearly had 3,000 yards, 39 total touchdowns. You're part of the 80s all-decade team. So I think me and Tommy would be happy to do that if you need some just friends to help you out with that. James, being from Little Rock, Parkview Patriot, as Tommy talked about, we got some stuff we want to get into there, but potentially the final game in War Memorial Stadium, a place that you're accustomed to. I wonder your thoughts on this game coming up against Arkansas State, first time in program history these guys are playing football against one another.
I've been wanting this for a long time, just for in-state rivalry. I mean, you got a lot of kids who want to go to the University of Arkansas, have always dreamed of going, but didn't necessarily get the opportunity. But then they had these other schools around where they can go play. And so, but who wouldn't want to play against maybe someone like Arkansas, growing up and wanting to play for them, but didn't get the opportunity? I think it's great. I think it's great for the state. I think it's great for football in the state of Arkansas. And I'm excited to see it. That'd be one of the games I definitely would want to go see, because I've been wanting to see that for a while. And it's going to create competition, and we need healthy competition in the state of Arkansas from the standpoint of football. As you guys well know, football in our state is not as big as it used to be, in my opinion. But it's coming back. A lot of guys now are starting to, stay in state when we lost a lot over the years. So Arkansas needs to get back to recruiting in Arkansas a lot more. We do have a lot of talent here, and I just hate to see the talent go to other states and play.
Yeah. When you think back to your high school days and playing with Keith Jackson at Little Rock Parkview, tell us about those days. I mean, that was one of the best high school football teams, certainly of the 80s and maybe of the last 40 or 50 years.
Well, there's a debate with that. Sully and I always had that conversation. He seems to think that this Pine Bluff team, which I didn't really know anything about, I think it was Shabazz was on that team, may have been one of the better teams that ever assembled. And I told him I beg to differ, even though I didn't see them play, but I said I beg to differ just because so many guys on that team that actually got an opportunity to go play college ball. I think my junior year, I only played one full game. I was done by halftime on every game. And so, of course, we didn't win the big game, which we should have, but we didn't. But I think that's just one of the better teams that I ever played with and ever been assembled with, because we just had so much talent and so many guys getting the opportunity to go play, extend their play beyond high school. Yeah,
people around Fort Smith still talk about that 1983 championship game against Bob Gatling's Southside team. What do I'm sure that's a night you remember often, probably not for the reasons you'd like to, but it's still considered one of the great, because of the quality of the team you're on, one of the greatest upsets in state championship history in the state of Arkansas.
I would agree with that. Even some of the guys that played in that game for Southside, I run into him every now and then. He said, "We just came to the game. We just come into the game just to play. We knew that we didn't really have a chance, because you guys were blowing people out all year long, and the type of players you guys had, we didn't think we really had a chance, but we was gonna give it a shot, and they gave it a shot, and they came out victorious. And of course, that game hunts us all. Every time we get together, we do talk about that, talk about that game and how we lost it and where we lost it and how did that happen. But things like that. If you play a game of football, play any type of sports, anything can happen. On any given Sunday, on any given Saturday or Friday night, anything can happen at any time.
Your final season was the 88 season, then Arkansas won back-to-back Southwest Conference titles in 88 and 89. Did you think you'd be a part of one of the last two conference titles that are on the trophy shelf for Arkansas? It's hard to believe that ever since you left the Southwest Conference, I know it's a tough SEC, but I don't think anyone in the late 80s would have believed you'd go as long as we've been without a conference championship.
I tell you what, those were some special teams back then. We had a lot of talent back then, and of course it was great playing, in the Cotton Bowl, especially my last year playing the 89-90 Cotton Bowl against Tennessee. A game I thought that we should have won because we controlled the game so much during the first half. And but like I say, anytime and any given day, anybody can beat anybody. But exciting times back then. And like I said, love the guys that I played with. And we had some really, really good teams. Yeah. And I tell everyone that Coach Hatfield, if you look at his record during that span, that from 85 to 89, probably one of the highest winning percentage as a coach in the history of Arkansas.
Yeah.
Every year we were going to a bowl game. And it wasn't a bowl game, where you win 6 games and just get in. We were winning 8, 9, 10, 11 games, 10 games a year, and losing 1 or 2 here and there. And so those are great teams back then. And I think we don't necessarily get the recognition. A lot of guys, a lot of my ex teammates, we talk about that as well. That the teams in the 80s, mid 80s, and particularly late 80s, don't get the recognition that we deserve because we, year in and year out, was very competitive. Year in and year out was ranked in the top 20 every year going in, ranked in top 10 a few years. From 85 to 89, my playing days there, we had really, really good teams and really, really good records.
Yeah. People think about Quinn Gropey, obviously the quarterback, future NFL Hall of Famer Steve Atwater, but guys like Wayne Martin and Freddie Childress that were on that team. I mean, Freddie, I remember him as a kid. I mean, just how big and nasty he was on that offensive line.
Yeah, when I signed with the University of Arkansas, Freddie came and said, "Well, when you signed, man, when I saw that you signed, I knew I was coming for sure." And so Freddie and I had a great relationship, and he's probably one of the first guys I ever saw that big and agile. And so, I didn't see a lot of that in 5A conference at Parkview. We went out at Parkview, but the guy was big and talented, and like I say, a great guy as well. So, yeah, I definitely enjoyed playing with Fred.
Former Razorback running back James Rouse, who's a part of the 2025 Hall of Honor class with us here on the Lewis Automotive Group hotline. James, you kind of alluded to something there, like the recognition that you feel like maybe you and your team deserve. I know you were an honorary captain, I think 2012 against Ole Miss. What would your message be to Hunter and maybe the athletics department to get you guys more involved and bringing people back, teammates, teams, and whatnot? How would you go about doing that as a former player?
I would say reach out. I'm an ambassador for the state of Arkansas, and I'm an ambassador for the University of Arkansas. But no one has really ever reached out and asked me to do certain things or asked me to, if they recruit. I see some recruits that go to Arkansas, and I would visit with them if I see them. But no one really reached out, and I just think that's a disconnect with the 80s teams. And it's not just me saying that; it's collective. We just feel like we are the forgotten team that that was good during those times, and I just say that just reconnect. Even when we recruit a lot out of Dallas, so we have a lot of players that are in Dallas. I would say when we go and play A&M and playing in that area, reach out. Have something for those guys to come in and support, because the guys want to support. But if you don't feel like you belong or feel accepted, then people tend to go their own way. So I'll just say reach out, and bring us back. Bring the 80 teams back at some point, and honor us or something. Do something that will ignite those guys and want to come back and be a part of the program, because there is a big disconnect right now between the 80, like say the 85 on up to the 89 teams that I play with. There's a huge disconnect. A lot of guys don't necessarily come back like they used to, and for whatever reason, I don't know.
James, what do you expect of Arkansas football in this decade? Like on a yearly basis, you mentioned your teams win 8, 9, 10 games. Like, how do you see Arkansas in the fold of the SEC now in 2025 and beyond?
You got to recruit. And like I say, you have to recruit in-state, but you also have to recruit out-of-state because, the top-tier SEC teams, of course, as you guys well know, they get in the 4 and 5 stars. And, sometimes the 4 and 5 stars, I mean, those stars mean something, but, you can get a guy who's a 3-star, a 3.5 or 4-star, that can give you the equivalent of a 5-star sometimes. They may grow into that. And so I would say you got to start recruiting, of course, and I'm sure they do a great job in doing that. But you got to be competitive because if you see the top tier teams in the SEC, they got those 4 and 5 stars, they got the cream of the crops, and so we got to get back competitive. I say once we get back competitive, I think we can start drawing those guys in because we have great facilities. We got facilities like none others, so we can compete in that era. But as far as NIL, here again, the state of the game has changed a whole lot. Now, players want to be paid, and so do we have the money, or do we want to have the money to start buying players? Because in essence, that's what's really going on. And so at some point they're going to have to kind of reel it in somehow, some way. Because the lower tier teams are not going to be as competitive if they can't get the caliber athletes that they need.
James, you mentioned recruiting. Little Rock football, high school wise, is not the same since when you were in school. I know things have changed, but I wonder, as a guy that has had success coming out of high school from the Central Arkansas area, how do we get back to that? How do we get back to producing some of the best players in state being from Central Arkansas?
That's a good question. One of the things I do, I referee on Friday nights. So I see a lot of great talent across the state, from small schools to your larger schools. But it's just a matter of them putting together a package, teams, being able to win, of course, and figure out a way to get these guys looked at. Because if you don't recruit in the state of Arkansas, which I don't think we've done, I think we started here in the last few years of recruiting back in the state of Arkansas, particularly for basketball. I don't know it's necessarily for football. The talent pool is like I say, it's not as great as it was back then, but there's still some talented players here. Like I say, I see it every Friday night, and I think that these guys can play at the next level. But it's just a matter of getting an opportunity.
Well, James, when your name comes up, I'm sure smiles come across the face of Razorback fans because it brings back memories of a great time and a great era of Razorback football. We appreciate you taking time for us, and congratulations on being inducted in the 2025 Hall of Honor.
Thank you guys for having me on. Like I said, it's been a great ride, and I've been hearing a lot from people. I've been getting a lot of phone calls and text messages. So a lot of people are excited that I'm in, and I'm excited as well.
All right, we'll look forward to seeing you at the banquet, and good luck this football season to you.
Appreciate it.